Welcome to the Sand Science Experience, your source for the most current and impactful research and preprints in science. Before we dive into today's material, please take just a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really does help support the Sand Science Experience and, allows us to keep bringing you these deep dives. So today we're taking your sources and diving deep into, one of humanity's oldest and maybe most profound mysteries. Why do we age? I mean, it's a question that's puzzled thinkers for literally millennia, right? From Aristotle all the way to modern scientists. And it holds pretty profound implications for global health, especially now with a rapidly aging population and the rise of all these age-related diseases.
It really is fascinating, isn't it, how something so universal, something that affects every single one of us, remains such a contentious topic among researchers. So today, we're going to really dig into the cutting-edge mechanistic theories of aging. We'll explore why this biological process is just so incredibly complex, and also why building a robust theoretical framework is absolutely crucial for, any real scientific progress in this field.
Okay, so the review we're looking at today, it sort of breaks down these theories into two main camps, broadly speaking. You've got theories based on errors and accumulated damage, and then others suggesting aging is more of a programmed process, almost intentional in a way. Right, when we first think about aging, the immediate thought, I think, for most people goes to simple wear and tear.
Yeah, that intuitive idea.
Their bodies just, accumulate damage over time, kind of like an old car or machine.
Exactly. And what's particularly insightful from the research is seeing how these error-based theories have actually evolved quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Historically, they focus much more on passive damage from external insults.
Like the machine just wearing out.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But modern perspectives really acknowledge our body's incredible repair systems. The thing is, they're not perfect. They're imperfect. And this imperfection leads over time to the accumulation of damage in really essential macromolecules, things like DNA, our mitochondria, the powerhouses, and vital proteins. We can touch on some classic ideas like the free radical theory, which actually has largely fallen out of favor now, and also maybe discuss the challenges with theories that center on things like, say, telomeres or mitochondrial damage as the single primary driver.
Yeah, and what I find particularly, puzzling here is, if so much of this supposed damage is theoretically reversible, why doesn't our body just do it? Why doesn't it fix it? You mentioned telomeres, those protective caps on our chromosomes.
Right.
They shorten, okay, but there's an enzyme, telomerase, that can, in theory, reverse that shortening.
That's the key point.
So this reversibility, it just seems like a major hurdle for these purely error-based explanations, doesn't it?
It really does. That reversibility paradox, as it's sometimes called, highlights a key challenge. Because while some damage, like, say, DNA mutations, accumulates very early in development and is largely irreversible.
Right, from the start almost.
Yeah. But many other proposed types of damage could, in theory, be counteracted, repaired, cleared out. It almost suggests there's something else going on, something pushing beyond just simple wear and tear accumulating randomly.
Okay, so if these error-based theories face big challenges, like this reversibility paradox, where does that leave us? Does it sort of push us towards a different way of thinking about aging altogether?
Exactly. And this is where the second major group of theories, the program-based ones, really comes into play. These theories suggest aging isn't primarily about random errors piling up. Instead, it might be a kind of continuation of genetically encoded developmental processes that are beneficial, even essential early in life, but become detrimental later on. Think of it less like a machine physically wearing out, and maybe more like a sort of software design flaw that only really manifests years down the line.
And that software design flaw analogy really helps clarify it, actually. So the idea is that development itself carries the seeds of aging. A process that helped us grow and thrive could actually become harmful later. Can you give an example of how that might work?
Precisely. Yeah, a good example is certain growth hormone pathways. They're absolutely crucial for development, right?
Sure.
But disruptions in these same pathways can sometimes, paradoxically, extend lifespan, at least in animal models.
Interesting.
Or you could think about epigenetic clocks. These are like molecular timers in our cells, tracking changes in how genes are expressed. They seem to start ticking right from conception, which lends some support to this idea that aging might reflect these preset developmental programs just continuing to operate when maybe they shouldn't. However, and this is a big however, testing these program theories rigorously, especially in humans and other mammals, without causing unintended harm or pathology, remains incredibly challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So strong, direct empirical evidence is still, developing, We're not quite there yet.
It really sounds like distinguishing what actually causes aging versus what are just the effects or consequences of aging is incredibly difficult. It makes you appreciate just how complex our biology really is.
It absolutely is. I mean, many changes we observe as people get older could simply be the body's responses to degeneration, not the fundamental drivers of it. We have to be incredibly careful as scientists not to confuse correlation with causation. It's a classic trap.
Right.
Ultimately, aging is likely not one single simple process anyway. It probably stems from multiple causes interacting, a complex interplay perhaps, of damage accumulation, and these potentially programmed processes may be reinforcing each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. What really stands out to me, though, is that even while we don't have all the answers yet, understanding these fundamental mechanisms of aging is just absolutely essential if we ever want to develop effective interventions.
Couldn't agree more.
It's all about distinguishing the drivers from the passengers, isn't it, in this incredibly complex biological journey we're all on.
Exactly, and developing that truly coherent, unifying theoretical framework. That would be a massive breakthrough. Honestly, perhaps one of the biggest in modern biology.
I completely agree. The future of health, might really depend on unlocking these secrets. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the most current and impactful research. Thanks so much for joining us on the Science Experience.